Okay.
Well, good evening, everybody from London, and welcome to another Harif Zoom event. We don't call them lockdown lectures anymore. Harif, for those who don't know us, is the UK Association of Jews from the Middle East and North Africa. Of course, you don't need to be one to be interested in the sorts of subjects we talk about. We cover all manner of interesting aspects of history and culture. We have a website, www.harif.org. You have to be subscribed to our mailing list in order to get Zoom details or login details. And we do Zooms every couple of weeks. So we also have a news blog called Point of No Return, which you can access through the Harif website. We are recording this session. It's actually being live streamed to the Harif Facebook page, and you can actually pose your questions there if you feel like it, if you're watching on Facebook. We're also recording this on video, and it'll be up on the Harif YouTube channel shortly, hopefully. I just want to mention that our last Zoom event, which was about Bureka's films, unfortunately, there were copyright issues with the recording, and so it isn't actually on YouTube, but you can see it on the Harif Facebook page. And if you have trouble with that, just email me at info@harif.org, and I'll send you a link. Just before I introduce the speaker for tonight, I just want to say, please do put your questions or comments in the chat, and hopefully there'll be an opportunity to put them to our speaker tonight. So without further ado, the subject of tonight's lecture is harvesting the surnames of Iraq's Jews. Well, as we know, the Jews of Iraq had to leave, and they were not allowed to take with them vital records, and the archives were seized by the authorities. And so we're all grateful to Jacob Rosen, who has actually dedicated himself to reconstructing the surnames of the community's Jews, and he will tell us how he's done it and how he's indexed them all. Jacob Rosen Königsbuch is his full name. He's an independent consultant in demographic mapping and a veteran diplomat. He was deputy ambassador to Jordan, and he was Israel's ambassador to Jordan from 2006 to 2009. And he is joining us from Jerusalem. His postings have included India, Egypt, and America, and he's fluent in several languages, including, of course, Arabic and Polish, Dutch, English. He's the author of a book called Crossing the Jordan River, The Journeys of an Israeli Diplomat. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Jacob for what I am sure will be an absolutely fascinating talk. Over to you, Jacob. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I see people, we have here people from different continents. I'm glad, since I sometimes listen to the Zoom lectures at Harif, and I enjoy them. So I decided to add my own portion of joy to share with you. And I would like to talk today about my method of indexing basically Baghdadi surnames, Jewish Baghdadi surnames, but I also did indexes of Alexandria, Cairo, Damascus, Aleppo, and Beirut. And recently, the Jewish Telegraphic Agency made a big story about me. And what they did, they united all the indexes and put it in a search engine. So just go on Google Jacob Rosen JTA, and you'll see a story from the 29th of January. And then you can scroll down, you get into a search box. You type the name you are looking for in one of those 6 cities, and hopefully you'll find the name you are looking for, and perhaps you'll find the name, the surname in the place you didn't know that you have relatives. So why do I do genealogy? Mainly in the Arab, in the Levant, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. I am a son of Holocaust survivors who were completely silent about their past. My father was like that. I did not know the names of his siblings. I knew the name of my grandfather because I'm named after him, Jacob Yechiel Rosner, now Rosen. He once mentioned that he had a brother and 4 sisters, said 2. My mother was his second wife. Of course, we did not know that he was married before the war and had daughters. My mother knew, she spoke a little bit about the Holocaust, about her family, and until the last day of her life, she was convinced that only she and her brother survived the war. She knew about 2 cousins of her mother who survived, but that's it. Only after they died, I had psychological courage, so to speak, because I never had the guts to ask my parents anything. Me and my brother realized that it's better not to talk about it. And we were busy, you know, with growing up. And I started discovering, managed to reconstruct the family tree of my father's family and my mother's family, a lot. But archives in Poland, Germany, France, South Africa, United States are open. You just have to dedicate an effort and you can. And I found a lot. Luckily enough, my mother's surname is Königsbuch, which in German means King's Book. Very rare surname, so anyone I bumped into is from the same family, from the same township in Galicia, in what is now Poland. So as you realize, I am very proud of what I'm doing, and I tell everyone, even if he wants to hear or he doesn't want to hear, but I have many friends whose families hail from Egypt, Syria, and Iraq. And when I tell them about it, they say, oh, we don't know anything. As Lynn said at the beginning, we left in a hurry. We were not allowed to take anything with us, no documents, nothing. The Jews in Europe, most of them perished, but at least the archives are open, so you can do something. In our case, we came alive from this adventure, but the archives are closed. Maybe one day when the archives will open, inshallah, we'll know what we'll be able to find out. Okay, this I hear frequently, the same mantra. Well, I don't know when the archives will be opened, and I have no idea what we shall find them. And since I like challenges, I took it upon myself a challenge. I said, oh, no archives, no documents, because I'm used from research of genealogy in Poland or in Germany. You go to the Jewish genealogical website, you type the name of the city, and after 2 minutes, you may get the list of all the families or most of the families that lived in the city until 1939. So I decided to follow the same pattern and to try to reconstruct a list of names. And of course, archives are closed. Jewish press you had only in Egypt for 30 years. But also in Egypt, you have directories, business directories, but there's a problem with Jewish press and business directories. And Jewish press, those of you live in England or America, the Jewish press normally covers the rich and the influential and those who donate money to organizations. Or so you have frequent mentioning of them, and or people who are in free professions. So they mean all those sorts of directories, business directories, professional directors. But what do you do with the simple people? The tailors and the shoemakers and whatever, they have no chance to be mentioned there. So this is the big challenge. So I decided this lecture is how I did it with Baghdad, and I'll also refer at the end a little bit about Mosul and Basra, which had quite a sizable Jewish communities. And like a doctor, first of all, I'll explain the problem, and I'll show the resources and how I do it and how I complement what I don't know. So let me share the screen. I hope it will work. Share screen. And do you see me, Lawrence? Lawrence?
Presentation. Sorry, I muted us. We can't.
I press the share screen.
Okay.
Okay.
We're off.
Okay. So the first slide is Baghdadi Jews. And since we are going now through very, very difficult times in Israel, please go to slide number 2.
Yep. Sorry, trying to do two things at once.
Yeah. I live in Jerusalem, and the grocer of our neighborhood, where I buy sometimes things for my family, exactly last week, he lost his son, Major David Shakuri. The father with whom I buy my things is called Sasson Shakuri, and you probably realize it's a Baghdadi name. So just I wanted to dedicate this lecture to the memory of David Shakuri. He was his funeral was last Wednesday. Today was the last day of Shiva. Just shows you how things are connected and how you, even through death announcements, you manage to get yourself connected. Let's go to slide number 3. This is a map, a very simple map of the Jewish neighborhood of Baghdad. Not just to, it's in the central Baghdad. Those of you who hail from Baghdad, all those places are probably known to you. The Jews, most of them lived in a very, very small neighborhood, one living nearby other. Later on, the very affluent started to move to El Karach or to Rasafa or to El Batawid, but most of the Jews lived there in their own neighborhood. Which sources do I use? Because we really have a problem. The Jews left in a hurry. The Jewish archives were confiscated by the Iraqi authorities, and part of them were discovered only after the Iraqi invasion occupation of Baghdad in 2003. And it took about 10 years. I'll talk about it later on to dry them and to restore some of them. They're on the web, but not everything is there. So the earliest documents which are available about the Jews of Baghdad, please go to slide number 4. Yeah. In 1896 and in 1892, in 1896, the chief rabbi of Baghdad, Behor Hassin, managed to arrange with the Turkish governor of Baghdad exemption from military service for Jewish boys. He had to, of course, this costed money, and he published 2 lists of the boys who got exemption in 1892 and 1896. You can look at it and you realize that it is written. Can you enlarge a little bit, Lawrence, if you can? It is written in the Rashi script. And more interesting, it is written in Arabic. Yes, I repeat, written in Rashi script, which is mainly Ashkenazim are using it, and it is written in Arabic. And on the left side, you have the names. Names normally composed of 3 components: a given name, father's name, and grandfather's name or a surname. This is very fluctuating. very interesting. So we have those lists of few thousand names of Jewish boys. However, the problem in such a list that it gives only boys. Females are non-existent. And in this 4 years difference, if you have a couple who do not have any more children in military service age, or they have only daughters, they do not exist in those lists. So it's a very, very nice resource for collecting names, collecting or harvesting. I'm not harvesting organs, I'm harvesting surnames, but basically this is what I'm doing. Wherever I find a surname, I am putting on the list. So this is very nice, but it is limited. Let's go to the next slide, number 5. Yes. We were talking about Rashi script, but the Jews in the Orient, in the Levant, also in North Africa, had their own, they have their own alphabet, which is called Nus Kalam, half pen, or Solitreo in Latin or in Spanish, or Chatzi Kulmus. Jews in the Arab countries were using this script for correspondence. Also, rabbis were corresponding. Mohalim, circumcisers, were using it, and Dayanim and rabbis were using it for daily use. The problem of this is that they write in Hebrew or in Hebrew alphabet, though it's different letters. And since they use the Judeo-Arabic. So this is a mixture of Arabic and Hebrew in Hebrew letters. But the problem is the people who wrote it in Arabic did not know Arabic very well. So they also wrote it with mistakes. So when you get into such a script, you have a big problem, first of all, to realize whether it's in Hebrew or in Arabic. And when it's Arabic, to find out the mistakes. This is something from the Gniza of Singapore. There are many Baghdadi Jews from Singapore, in Singapore, as you probably know. And of course, they were quite traditional one, but when they died, the family didn't know what to do with the prayer books. So they donated it to the synagogue, and they lied there already for 50, 60 years. Until a friend of mine who is there on sabbatical found it out, and from time to time he sends me photos of those small inscriptions in the Sidurim and Machzorim. He is Nikra Nalba, Nikra Lebore Olam, Adonati, my lady, Imi Mazal Tov, Bat Simcha, Leila Le Shabbat, Kodesh, Al-Sa. Al-Sa is already not in Hebrew, it's in Arabic, you know, Al-Sa. في 12 وربع 12 and a half at night. 26 تموز. 26 تموز. You realize you have mixture of Arabic and Hebrew. Hatarsa, this is the Hebrew date, 29 of July 1905. One of the problems with this script that every rabbi and every chacham and every mohel, he invented his own version of the script. So once you get used to the script of one mohel or one rabbi, then you get another one, and you more or less have to start from the beginning. I'll talk in a moment about transcribus, about artificial intelligence of reading such texts. But this is very challenging. But you have documents from where you can extract and harvest surnames, and they are written in this script. So this is also very challenging. But I want you to be aware that many documents in Baghdad, some of them which survived, are written in this script. Let's go to number 5, please, Lawrence. This is another book from the Gniza of Singapore. And again, Kodesh Nishmat Niftar. Niftar is written Nun Pei Tet Aleph Resh. You don't write it in Hebrew with Aleph, but the guy who wrote it, he thought he's writing Hebrew, but he made a long vowel in iftar with Aleph. Yitzhak Aziza, Nera Yair, Etnen Kislev, Shnat Tara. So you see the written text, the printed text is in Hebrew. On the margins, you have a Rashi script, and then you have on the top handwritten script by in Solitreo. So this is, if you want to deal with Baghdadi documents, you basically have to know 3.5 alphabets. It's not rocket science, but just be aware, I'm like a doctor, I'm still explaining you the problem, yes? No, not yet the solutions. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is another Solitreo, just to give you an example for comparison. This is from Aleppo. I will not tire with this, just be aware that it's supposed to be transcript. When artificial intelligence, transcribers has to read it, he will have to switch to something else. Let's go to the next one. Oh la la, oh la la. In 2003, I told you the Americans managed to put their hand on the Iraqi Jewish archive, which survived. And when they entered the cellars of the Iraqi intelligence, a pipe of water exploded and everything there got wet. Luckily enough, one of the people from the American Defense Department who was there was Jewish, Harold Rode. He realized exactly what's that and how valuable it is. They realized it's impossible to dry it in Baghdad in 2003. They froze it and flew it to NARA, National Archives in Washington, and they worked on it for 10 years to dry it and to restore it and put it on the web. You go to Iraqi Jewish archives on the web, you get it. It's a huge amount of things, because they also put their prayer books and everything, but also some documents. This is an annual report from the Chevra Kadisha of Baghdad, of people with a certain annual report of people who gave money to commemorate their loved ones. So you have there, it's written on the top, Tabe el-Waridat, written in Arabic. And then you have the names in Rashi script. And you have names to whom it's dedicated, the name of the person who died, first name, given name, father's name, grandfather's name, surname, and who is dedicating it. So it is very good. We have 2 of those booklets. You have a few hundred names there. Also reflects people who died in, I think it was 1929 and 1946, 47. So we have a snapshot of people who died in Baghdad in those years. Also quite a nice contribution for the index. Let's go to the next slide. Here we come to a very interesting thing. Many of you probably left Iraq in 1951. You know that in 1951, the government of Iraq passed a law. In 1950, they passed a law that Jews who live to Israel, their Iraqi nationality is being withdrawn from them. And for their own administrative reasons, they publish for internal use a file of all the names. Let's go for the next one, Lawrence. Of all the Jews whose nationality, grown-up Jews, not minors, people from the age of 15 up, whose nationality, Iraqi nationality, was withdrawn from them. And it's very nice because, first of all, very nice, Iraqi indexes are normally arranged by the given name. So here what we have on the first page, the first row on the right, everyone is Ibrahim, and then the second row is the name of the father, also alphabetically, and the third row is the grandfather's name, or sometimes the surname. So people ask me, tell me, can you tell me something, how many Ashu people lost their nationality in this year? I say, oh, what was his given name? We don't know. We are looking for the families. So this is a big problem because you have there 38,000 names. So if you really want to, you want to find a name, you practically speaking have to go on through it. So 38,000 names. This takes about 5-6 hours with a Schlafstunde in the middle because your eyes get tired. I'm now trying to work. It's not in good quality. This booklet was discovered in Baghdad in 2004 after the big looting of everything in Baghdad after the Iraq invasion. Some Iraqi guy who lives in Washington found it out, scanned it. It's very bad quality scan. You cannot make OCR on it. OCR is optical character recognition, which it's like looking for a word in a Word document or in PDF. You click the word and it will show you where it is. You cannot get it. So I'm trying now to work either work with Transcribus, which I mentioned before. Transcribus is a machine learning, artificial intelligence program invented at the University of Innsbruck in Austria. It's still in the beta stage. You take a text, it is supposed to read handwriting. The major project is to read the big collection of the Spanish Inquisition. Millions and millions of reports during 300 years of the spies of the Inquisition were spying after the Jews. And of course, different handwriting. So you take a text, you let the machine try and read it, you correct it, it learns, and then it corrects until it learns. And then it will, after it learns, you go to another handwriting and they more or less to start it all over again. But it's very exciting. I'm just learning how to work with it. It's called Transcribus, with K, not with C, Transcribus. Go on Google later on, you'll find it. It's very exciting because once we'll have full control of it, or because now it is still in a beta stage. Once it will be more developed, you'll be able to take big texts and it will convert it into printed texts, which is wonderful and saves a lot of time. So here we have a big reservoir of names. However, many people in Baghdad were not known by their surname, or they didn't have surname, or maybe they had surname, but they had no idea that they have a surname, because in their neighborhood they were known by their given name and their father's name, or maybe grandfather's name. And of course, not all the Jews of Baghdad left at that year, and not those Jews of Baghdad who left in those years, 50, 51, left legally through the Ministry of Interior, and they have their name, and also the second column is the number of the form of withdrawal of the nationality, and the third one is the year of birth, which is very important. But many Jews either stayed or escaped via Iran, so they are not here. So they are not here. So again, you have wonderful list, these 38,000 names. However, this is also partial list. So yeah, I'm just trying to show you how you have partial fragments of things which enable you collect names, but this that doesn't get you to the final road. Let's go to the next slide. Next one. Oh, here is something very nice. This is an invitation from Baghdad for a wedding. Irbu Smachot Israel, Abu El Khatan. Abu El Khatan. This is the father of the Khatan, so it's a mixture of Hebrew and Arabic. Shua Kaduri Rahamim, and on the left, Waled El Kala, Eliyahu Nisim Shmuel. And then beneath, under the line, Natasharrav Bichudur Kub Yom El Hamis, Al Muwafik, Asha October 1935, الساعة 34 زاوية مساء لأجل احتفال كدوشين, and then Salim and Najia, and of course someone was very excited, so he dropped a drop of wine on the invitation, and it survives until those days. Also in many Haggadot you see drops of wines, because people get chicker, get drunk, and the wine says, وَبِخُدُرْكُمْ تَزِدُونَ الْحَفْلَ شَرَفًا وَسُرُورًا. certainly not in proper literary Arabic, but this is how people are talking. Al-Kiddushin, wal-Subhiya fi madrasat Shamash. Those of you who are from Baghdad, you know what the Shadash school was. Here you have a very nice text with names and mixture of Hebrew and Arabic, but it's Arabic is, you know, the spoken Arabic, colloquial Arabic. Let's go for the next one. Oh, this is very nice. I was speaking about those who left in 1935, in 1950-51. So those who left illegally to Israel and where their nationality was withdrawn from them, they are more or less registered there, but there are also some people create fake names, whatever. But not everyone left Baghdad. Some of them left Baghdad, escaped via Iran, so we have no record of that. But many Jews stayed in Baghdad until the last few years. And here is a list, a copy of which is in the Israel State Archive. By the way, it was hacked recently, the website of the Israel State Archives, so they are only partially available for search. And it gives you the names of all the Jews who died until 2001 and buried in the cemetery of Baghdad. And again, you have on the right a running number of the Chelka, of the plot probably. Then it's organized by given names. Here we have the letter Ain. So we have Ezra, Daoud, Salman, Debbie, Aziza, Moshe, Samach, Bechor, Aziza, Rachamim. And on the left side, when they died. You see? So there were, until 1970s, a few thousand Jews left there. And the last funeral was a year ago in Baghdad. I know it from Iraqi friends. But we have this list until 2001. Again, it's by given names. So sometimes I had tell me the people who died in Baghdad in those years. I said, okay, what's his surname? He says with surname. I said, what's the given name? I said, don't know. So I have to go through about 35 pages, 76 pages. Not too much. I read this Arabic. I'm used to this. But this, for example, will be very good for transcribers, because if you train that transcribers, you have here only 2 people during this 50 years were filling this list. So it will be easy. And once you have it printed, you'll be able to convert it into Excel page or whatever, and you'll be able very easily to look for it. Let's go for the next one. Okay, I told you that people stay in Baghdad, but or people escape via Tehran, via Iran. But you know, some Jews came to Iran and stayed there. This is a batzeva from cemetery of Tehran, written in Hebrew and in Persian. Up is Yom שנפטר לבית עולמו הצדיק והכשר, בני דבול, דבול with aleph, it shouldn't be aleph, it should be דבול with ayin, never mind. And then you have his name in Persian, Dabul, no, not that way. And the Tarikh Tawallad, and here you have the numbers, Persian numbers, not Arabic numbers. Shamsi, this is the year, not lunar, but the solar year. Mutawaled Baghdad, Tarikh, Warahmat Yazdi, what's it? So, Baji Dabul. So now you realize the challenge. If you want to look for names, you have to also to look in Baghdad, to look in Israel, to look in Tehran. Let's go to the next one. And this is the last document which I want to show you. This all of you know about the Farhud, the pogrom in 1941. And the Jewish community was very organized, and they have lists of people whose property was burnt or stolen. And they have list of who was the owner and whatever losses he has. But here we have a big, on the right side, we have a big list of names. Few hundred names of Jewish businesses, and from this you can also extract surnames. However, these are business people. What do the simple people? They're not there. Just let's go to the next slide. This is just another extension for hood damages, but next one. Okay, so go one back, because I see there. I want to end up. I don't know how to end up my lecture. You probably by now will realize that I can talk non-stop, but I want to keep the time. So this is how I work. And once I have a list of names, what do? I use the social media. I publish it on several Facebook groups of Iraqi Jews or Jews from Oriental origin, and say, this is what I have. Please, if you don't find the name which you know, do let me know. We called it crowd's wisdom, and this is very, 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 very efficient. In Israel, we have a Facebook group in Hebrew called Mishamrim et Hasafa Iraqit, preserving the Iraqi language, 75, almost 80,000 members. Very, very active. It's not genealogy. People there post also of nostalgia, and every Friday it's exploding with photos of food and kubbe and whatever people are preparing, and all the kishkes, the field kishkes which the Baghdadis like, and also of all sorts of femera, all sorts of items of use, and all sorts of vegetables and fruits which were in Iraq. Beautiful, beautiful. But many people read it, and I put such a list, and people start and they don't find names, and they tell me, Jacob, we didn't find the names. So then I collect few names, and once a year or once in 2 years, I publish in an update. And if I don't have a name, or I find a name which I'm not sure, I ask in the group. There's a new member of the new minister in the Israeli government, young lady called Mai Golan. She changed her name. Her name was once Flora Badra, and I read in the newspaper. She's now Minister of Social Equality, I think, or Women, I think Women Affairs or Gender Affairs. And I had no idea. I found out that the name was Badra, and I don't find it in any of the lists. I posted the question on this Facebook group, and I got in a matter of an hour, because the moderator knows me, so she pushed it up. You know how to push messages in the social media. And yes, someone said yes, there was a small family in Baghdad called Badra. They originally were not from Baghdad, but so this is how I collect. Now everyone will ask me, I presume also in this group, so Jacob, wonderful what you do about Baghdad. What we are from Mosul, or we're from Basra. Well, there is a much bigger problem, because what the Americans found out, the Iraqi Jewish archive. Don't worry, Lynn, don't worry. I realize the time. I finish in a moment. In Baghdad, you have this Iraqi Jewish archive, so you can learn quite a lot. But what about Basra? What about...
Jacob, keep going. It's fine.
Keep
Yeah,
going,
another
yeah.
10, 15
Let's
minutes.
hear about Basra.
There's the delay in the landing?
We finish
Yeah.
10 minutes later, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. You don't have this exclusivity or the privilege of that you have in Baghdad, that you have the archive. Mosul, there was about 7,000 to 8,000 Jews there. There are no real, there are only estimates. In the Basra, about also 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 Jews. We really don't know, and we don't have the register of the Jews whose nationality was withdrawn from them, and archives are closed, especially for researchers from abroad. But surprise, surprise. There's quite a lot of interest in Iraq among Iraqi Muslims about the Jewish community. And in 2012, a young Iraqi from the University of Mosul decided to write a PhD about the Jews of Mosul until 1952, 51. And He lived in Mosul, and he had the access for the municipal archives and for the local newspapers, which were published. And he went through this. There's a book about the Jews of Mosul published in Israel in 1986 by someone, Mr. Lanyado, the late Lanyado. He was from Mosul, he was a teacher, but he wrote everything from memory. He remembered the families of Jewish families in Mosul, most of them. But he remembered their names, how the way they were known in the community. Now they were registered as business people or in the municipality under different names, and the names which he missed. Authors sometimes miss, either they have a senior moment or they just some names they prefer not to mention. They're Jewish, so. And this guy had no affinity to that name or another, and he published his PhD. He put it on the internet. It is on the internet, and only 3 years ago, he managed to publish it as a book. And it came out in Beirut and Baghdad, Al Yahud fil Mosul. Please go to the next one, Lawrence.
Yeah, coming.
No, wrong way.
No, it was right way.
Here we are. He leaves extensive lists extracted from the archives and the newspapers of Mosul and the archive of the Ministry of Interior in Mosul. Long list of Jewish craftsmen and teachers and government officials. And this is fabrics merchants in Mosul. And you have the names: Esem al-Yahudi, Shaul Suleiman, Chayun Shaul, Haduri, Moshe, Menashe Baruch, Nami, Mordechai Nachmu, Rachamim Nachum, Aziz Ben Murad, Mordechai Rachamim. Then the center column, now Al-Amal, what was exactly his profession? Bazaz, this is a kind sort of fabrics merchant, or someone who is just selling merchants. And where exactly, the left side you have in which souk, in which market he had his business. And you have the hundreds of names which I did not find in the book which is published in Hebrew in Israel in 1987. And because the author published it from what he remembered and contacts with people from Mosul who lived in Israel or wherever. But here we have finally how those people were registered. So I'm now working, after publishing my 6 big indexes, I'm now trying to work on Mosul, and it's the same more or less is about Basra. By the way, there are 2-3 books in Arabic about the Jews of Amara and Jews of Hilla. There are also some books in Hebrew, memoirs. People from memoir after 50, 60 years, the people who they remember, not always remember, or they remember, they don't remember the exact name. When an Iraqi lives in Hilla or Basra, he has access to the municipal archives. And he writes, of course, the book, they have to cover themselves, give an alibi. The story of the Jews in Iraq was dandy, friendship and comradeship and everything, until they came the Zionists and spoiled the beans for everyone. But nevertheless, they said they have to write because otherwise they have to justify it, to cover themselves from the authorities. But nevertheless, with time, more and more material is coming. So what I'm normally doing, I have the patience. I'm not that young anymore, so the future is ahead of me, but it's not very long. But as long as I can, I'm doing those lists, publishing it, whether it's on an Egyptian list or a Lebanese list or Syrian Lebanese list, and asking people and the social media, this is the future of this research until archives will be open. There's very interactive dialogue. I talk to people, I correspond with them. You can also correspond with me. You can write me. My name is Jacob Rosen, Königsbuch. You go, I'm on Facebook. You write me. There's only one Jacob Rosen in Jerusalem, Königsbuch. You write me a message, messenger. I promise, I swear that I'll answer. If not, you can find me. And I believe that with this ray of hope about Mosul and Basra, I can end Baghdad. Time and again, I'm surprised also with other cities. By the time you think that you know everything, you realize that there is something which you missed. Makes one humble. When people tell me we don't find the name, so I'll ask them because the indexes are in Latin characters, because many of the children or grandchildren of people who left the Arab countries do not read anymore Hebrew or Arabic. And of course, you know, you can transcribe the name, the Arabic, the Jewish name in different ways. But they check and I find out, yes, they're right. I didn't, it's not listed. So I started checking why I missed it. So I'm going back, and I sometimes, because of my stupidity or being tired, I missed it. But sometimes such a name never showed up in any of the documents or materials which I've seen, and only due to the children or grandchildren of those poor Jews from wherever they come, they are now doing very well, whether in London or Buenos Aires or Sao Paulo. For example, 10,000 Jews from Egypt live in Sao Paulo. You know, it's a treasure.
We've
And
met them. Lynn spoke at the synagogue. It's amazing.
I've met them.
Jews have
Egypt
many
synagogue, yeah.
synagogues. Jews have many synagogues, even if they don't use them. But there's a synagogue, so you know.
An Egyptian synagogue, beautiful.
Yeah. So no. So it's beautiful. So this is. I think I'm open for questions, and if I will not answer, you can send me Jacob Rosen Königsburg on Facebook messengers. I promise, I swear, Lynn, you are my witness that I'll answer.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you
right.
very
Follow
much,
me.
Jacob.
Thank you.
That was
Can I
absolutely
steal? We've got a
fascinating.
compliment to what you've got. For the research for Lynn's book and for other things, we have collected lots and lots of envelopes and pieces of history.
No, it's not gonna show up in the,
I'll take the
yeah.
background off.
So Lawrence, who's our technical expert here, has a collection of
Envelopes
envelopes
and other things.
which actually have family surnames on
Well,
them.
the first one is that's just for you with a nice Mosul envelope.
Yeah.
And these will
Yeah, very nice.
they will complement what you've got. Another envelope from Mosul. Can you see that?
You know, scan them for me, and I'll find out that.
Yeah, no, I've also picked on some envelopes from people.
Shakerji.
This
So
is a
Shakerji-
cigarette. This is a cigarette box from Baghdad from about 1918.
Ya salam,
Bekor and Benjamin with the cannon.
Yeah, Bechor, yeah. All the Bechors in Baghdad are called, as far as I know, Bechor Hassin. He was actually from Aleppo. But,
Yeah.
And there's another
That's
Bekor, very early 19th century letter from Lynn's great-grandfather.
No, my grandfather.
Grandfather,
Yeah.
about 120 years old. For the shukers on the call, we have shukar. I think we've got some shukers on the call.
Yeah, Shuker is also Edwin Shuker. You probably know.
Exactly, the same
just a
family.
different way of
I've got
saying.
plenty of Dangor envelopes. Here's a
Oh, Dangor. Well, no, the Dangor are everywhere. They are so rich and so known. You cannot seduce me with Dangor. This is not.
Okay, I can see
This is not attractive.
We've got hakaks on the call.
They are like Kilroy. They are like Kilroy. Wherever you go, Dangor was there.
Okay, we've got hakak on the call, I think, listening in.
Yeah,
Okay, we've got 4G, and this is from the Gorgi drugstore. I don't know if people can see that.
Gorgi game. They are basically from Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah. We've got Moishes on the call, so that's for the Moishes.
Moshe.
Moshe,
Yeah.
yeah.
Moshe, yeah. Oh, people are Moshe. Yeah.
Moshe.
Yeah.
But you bring me all the famous ones. I'm not looking for the famous one.
I got 200
I'm not looking
there.
for Stardust.
I'm
not looking for Stardust. I'm looking for the simple.
I have taken the ones who I can see on the call. Sharabani, not quite spelled.
Sharabani, yeah, you are boring.
Another boring one, Shaul.
Oh dear.
I've got Sophia spoke about 4 different ways, so that's for.
Well, you can recycle these 20 families time and again. But
how many Sophia's FAIR rather than PHR?
Oh, this is the way they write it. People, I don't find my name. Of course, because some of them write FER, double FER.
And the last one, which I could see was on the call, was Somech.
Oh, Somech, no problem.
And this was interesting. It was written.
Yeah, no, I am leaving the session.
Written in Hebrew, and I think the
Bombay,
sense.
by the way,
approving it.
By the way, Jews who came from Bombay back to Baghdad, they were called Bombayli.
Bombay
in Turkish gives its suffix of related to the place you came from. So
Right.
there's an Iraqi Baghdadi family called Halabli. They came from Halab. Bombayli, they came from Bombay. So just be aware.
Right, fascinating. So I think there are some questions there if you want to answer,
Yes.
Jacob. I think people are asking for information about their family names.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, I'm just indexing this. I'm not making a research. What's the origin of the name or what is the meaning of it? Of course, I know sometimes because people are, when I ask a question, do you know such a name? So they give me a ganze Meise, the whole story they give me, which is nice. But I'm not. I'm really.
What's that in Judeo-Arabic? Gansa Maisa. Yeah.
Qussa tawila, as they say in Arabic. Qussa
Kusa tawila. Okay.
yeah.
So your advice to anyone who wants to find out if their names are indexed, where do they go to find the index?
Yo, just the index of Baghdad, very easy. Jacob Rosen, Baghdad index. Go on Google, it will show up.
Okay.
Make sure that you have the updated version, because also the old version, because I have already 2 versions.
Right.
And inshallah, Qariban, I'll have another version. But now that I have the JTA search box, so this will be updated once in 3 months. And be aware there are different ways to spell the name, and the lists are long. Cairo has 2,200 names. Alexandria 1,800 names, and people are lazy. Sorry to say, they try to search through their cellular phone. Of course, they don't find it. And I write, please do yourself a favor, sit at night quietly in front of your computer and scroll slow. So of course Jews are cleverer than me, so they say I didn't find it. I say I don't say you didn't follow my advice, but I copy paste the name. I say look again, it's there.
But wouldn't the immigration in Israel have complete records of all those who came from Iraq to Israel?
Okay, this is the time to take my tissues box. Okay, it's not folklore. Most of the Jews who came from Iraq, not only from Baghdad, but also from Mosul and from Kurdistan, they did not speak Hebrew. The officials of the Jewish Agency or Ministry of Interior, most of them Ashkenazim, they spoke Yiddish, Polish, and Hebrew. People came, you know how they came, herds of them came, and officials asked them at the airport, what's your name? Yusuf, your Shem Mishpacha. Shem Mishpacha, family name, surname? No. They realize that the line, the queue is long, so they have to process the people quickly. What's the name of your father? Reuven, yalla. Yosef Reuven, and they send him to the transition camp, to the Ma'abara, wherever, and go in 1951, 52, when you're in Tira or in the castle, go to the Ministry of, try to travel to the Ministry of Interior to quarrel with the clerks that they did not write your name properly. I know 3 brothers in the castle nearby Jerusalem from Zahu, Kurdistan. 3 brothers, same father, same mother. Each of them has different surname. At the list of the Jewish Agency, which are now in the, well, I don't should do this, I should cry, but what happened, because it's very, very agonizing and very complicated. I say a word about it. The people, the Ministry of the Jewish Agency has partial names, which they were transferred now to the Israel archive, which was hacked. So it's very difficult. You have to wait to get there. You have scans of the names. But first of all, it's written he came from Iraq. Where in Iraq? Allahu Ya'lam. This is not important. And the names, believe me, disaster. The name, especially those Ashkenazi officials, when they have the letter Ayin, they make simmers out of that, everything possible not to spell it correctly. Now I'm laughing and I have nice sense of humor. This is what everyone tells me. But imagine after 50, 60 years, when you have problems of inheritance and execution of wills. Big problem. Not all the people are angels. And when the courts give an order to execute the will, people try to hide the fact that there were other brothers. And they count on it that they don't carry the same surname because it was it was shattered in 1950-51. I'm consultant on demographic mapping. I'm being approached. Sometimes I even ask money for it to sort it out because it's very, very serious. Also many halachic problems. I'll give you an example. A guy whose grandmother died in Alexandria in 1935. And he wanted to, it happened a few years ago, he wanted to marry a woman from a religious background.
Yeah.
And the rabbis of her family insisted to know, wanted a proof that his grandmother was Jewish. How do you find? Archives also in Egypt are closed, inaccessible. However, luckily enough for him, the family was rich and they donated regularly to Keren Kayemet in Alexandria. So the name of its grandmother figures several times in the Jewish newspapers. Jewish newspapers are very particular, especially in Egypt. Only Jewish kids who studied in Hebrew school, Jewish schools, are mentioned in the newspapers. If they studied in the schools of the missionaries, of Collège Les Frères or whatever, of the churches, they are not mentioned there. And many Jewish guys and girls studied in the British schools and French schools. So you have, again, a gap. Yeah. You have, Lawrence, you have another envelope for me?
This is one you can work out for me. I bet you haven't got this one. It's from Baghdad.
Yeah.
To Isfahan.
Yeah, I see Solitreo, Chaim, Abba. Oh, scan it for me. I'll work on it.
Well,
Okay.
if you plan to come to London, you can have a look through all of them.
Scanning is cheaper. I would come from. I got married in London. Our first son was born in London. He lived there for a while.
Yeah.
But it's not relevant. More questions, please.
No. Can I ask, when were surnames introduced in Iraq?
Oh, this is very interesting. There's almost no literature about that. I'm one of the first ones who are dealing with it. Also about Syria. We know that in Europe, in Russia, or in the Austro-Hungarian Empire or the German Empire, there was a decree that Jews had to have names. How they adopted the names, whether it was imposed on them, it's irrelevant. But from 1820 already, 1820, most of the Jews had surnames. Something like this did not exist in the Ottoman Empire. No, people never normally lived in their neighborhood. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone was Ibn Ammi, Ibn Khalti, that's a Jiddu Ammu, that sort of things. And people did not have surnames. There's even a rumor about these two reports of Rabbi Bechor Hassin that he basically imposed surnames on people because they probably were not aware that they have surname. Because if you did not need a passport to travel abroad, you didn't need a passport for driving because there was no cars yet. So it was unnecessary. Also, what happened in 1917 in Baghdad, after the British occupation, many people who had very close contact with the Ottomans changed their names. Also Arabs, Muslims. And also given names. If I see in the Baghdadi name of a woman, I see his name is Florette or Flora or Daisy, I know that she was born after 1918. Because before that, all the women were Rahma or Gurgia or Samha or whatever. No, it's very important. The Ktubot, which we have, there are a few Ktubot also at the National Library of Israel from Baghdad. Sometimes you have the names of professions. It's description of the profession of the person. Whether it stayed his surname later at a later stages, we don't know. What we know that from the 1920s, people started they started going to schools, normal schools, not to Kutab or something like this. Alliance, Shamash, you know the various schools there. There's already worked in a normal manner. But until the turn of 20th century, names were optional, unnecessary. I was dealing recently, that this is very sensitive, I cannot talk too much about it. A young woman who stayed in Baghdad because she married an Iraqi, and she was very young. And she knew that her family left to Israel. And 50 years later, her grandchildren started looking for their family in Israel. There was only one problem. She had no idea what was her surname from home.
Mm.
She knew her given name and her father's name, Setu, that's it.
Yeah. And did you find it? Did you find her family?
I never speak about my failures, only success.
Yeah, yeah, that's an incredible story.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's very sensitive. I cannot deliberate more. I mean, but you have stores, and also the properties of Jews from Europe, also from the Middle East, who bought properties or opened bank accounts in mandatory Palestine and never told their families that they have it. You know, to hide from the wife, to hide from the children, whatever. And it's forgotten. And now there's a law in Israel already for a few years that the government and the banks have to disclose that they have a dormant account. And people start coming up, and you have to prove that you are related.
There's one question Lynn's dying.
There's a lot of money in it.
There's
Lot of
one
money.
question Lynn was dying to ask, but
Yeah.
too embarrassed to ask it.
What?
Are the 40 thieves with Ali Baba in your list?
Stop it.
I don't know their surname. Ali Baba given name. Give us their name, I'll find
Very good answer. Very good answer. Okay. So let me just look at the question. There are no real questions. People are mentioning surnames of their families, and I think
I will be glad to check whether the list, because only this is why always I never say no to proposals to be on the Zoom, because after every such session,
yes,
I get more names. This time a harvest.
yes,
Should we
you're a
open-
harvester.
Should we open it up that people
Yeah.
can ask questions?
Yes.
If anyone has a name, iPhone or iPad, you haven't got a name, I'm afraid I have to take you out the meeting. If you change your name and come in again, you can rejoin. But without a name,
Yeah.
I'm afraid I have to take you, I'll put you back in the waiting room.
But so I'd just like to say we'll finish the formal part of this meeting by thanking Jacob for a most fascinating talk. And if anyone wants to look up the index, the answer is you go to Jacob Rosen Baghdad Index. Is that right?
Baghdad, GH, not GDAD.
Yeah. GHDAD.
Baghdad.
So that's the answer to that. So while Lawrence is going to unmute everything.
Two things I want to do first. This is the first thing I want to do. This is the book, Crossing the Jordan.
Yeah.
It's available on Kindle on Amazon at a reasonable price and incredibly expensive if you want a real copy, from I think about £25 up to 142.
Yeah, if you want a paperback, it's £142. So this is nothing to do with surnames. It's nothing to do with Baghdad, but it is Jacob's own story of being an Israeli diplomat in Jordan.
Right. And a tip, if
This
anyone
is
wants
basically how the Jordanians reacted when they realized that my wife and myself, this young, nice couple, are actually Israelis.
Yeah. And if anyone's looking for it, it might be much cheaper at a shop called Robinson's in Tel Aviv, which have a lot of old books. And then wanted a Dani book, which was a fortune on eBay or whatever, on Amazon. And then we picked it up for about £20. So try Robinson's in Tel Aviv.
I wonder why it's so expensive. But you go on Google Books, you can read chapters from my book. You really don't have to go
Yeah.
But it's nice
Okay.
book, I think.
Right.
I enjoyed reading it.
Right. Now, anyone can ask questions. Anyone can unmute themselves, but if you can raise your electronic hand and we can somehow do it in an orderly fashion, will be great.
Oh, I see more friends joined in. I was so busy with
anyone
myself.
can unmute themselves, but we try and do it in an organized way. So if you want to say hello or make any observations, put up your hand and we'll try and do it that way.
Can't see the gallery.
Oh, Elaine is there asking questions.
Oh, William.
No, I don't have any question to ask you. I don't want to grill you. I just want to say that I really enjoyed it, and I'm always a pleasure to see you again. I hope that you will be traveling in my corner pretty soon, so we can maybe have a beer together.
So that was Alain Farhi, who is the expert on everything.
No, come on.
No, everything
To you.
genealogical. Has a wonderful website called Farhi, farhi.org, is it, Alain?
Yeah.
Yeah, farhi.org. If you want to find your family tree, and it covers Iraq, it covers Egypt, covers Syria, and
The
probably
Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire.
the whole Ottoman Empire.
And England.
And England.
Okay, we got William, who is going to be next.
Yeah, William.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you very much for that talk. I was absolutely fascinated to hear about this Geniza in Singapore. Are there any others in Southeast Asia? I mean, is there one in Jakarta or? I mean,
Well, those books, it's a very sad story because once people are very observant. And they used to write in the Siddur or the Mahzor, the prayer book, the birth dates or the death dates of the relatives of theirs. But in modern times, when those people passed away, the family didn't want to throw those books. They brought to the synagogue and they let the shamash or the gabbai deal with it. And the gabbai also did not know what to do with it. So he put it in the attic there. And I have a friend whose wife is he's a PhD candidate for Ben-Gurion University. His wife is in high tech, so she was relocated there. He joined her, and is completing his PhD in Singapore. But he's from a religious background, so he started schmoozing with the rabbi there, and he saw some books there in the back. He said, "Yeah, those books are there for a long time." Started looking at them, says it's a treasure. So he wrote an article about it. And now the Jews started quarreling who is going to keep them, because on the one hand, it's property of the synagogue. On the other hand, the synagogue is it's not has other more urgent tasks. So, but we know it's there. And what is nice, I think they started cataloging it. They started cataloging, so at least we'll know. Many of those prayer books were printed in Bombay.
yeah.
There was big Jewish community there, and there was a printing facilities. There were no printing facilities in Hebrew, as far as I know. At least those books are from the turn of the century. It's wonderful. I am a book collector. You can see from the background there. It's I don't know. I saw the Kindle is a small child in German, but that I realized it's a reading instrument. So I like the smell of the books because each book has a story, and you see whom it belongs to, and then you realize it's someone called Shirazi, Baghdadi, but called Shirazi, which gives you a notion that those people who live in Baghdad were actually from Shiraz.
I had family in Egypt as well, and they're involved in the tobacco trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there was big, by the way, I did just now completed the Beirut index. There were many Baghdadi families there. And Beirut has its own problems of finding names. Many Jews live there. They were never registered really there because they never got citizenship. They never. And someone says, "Oh, I am Brahimi family from Baghdad, Morimi." So then I realized it's Moraimi, but they call it Meromi. So you know, all sorts of things. Slowly we are working it out. But the books are beautiful. There's a story behind each book.
And there might be other synagogues with the similar collections then. I mean, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Holly, then Emil.
Okay.
Holly?
Hi, Jacob. This is
Hi.
Holly. I'm from an Ashkenazic Russian background, and I thank you very, very much for this most fascinating talk. Lynn and Lawrence, thank you again so much. And I want to tell you on a personal note, I once rode a bus with a Gentile gal from Iraq. She was about maybe 45 years old and I was maybe 60. She says to me, I don't know how old I am. I says, what are you talking about? Well, she explained the Iraq, they all left in 1979. I says, well, I remember the Iraq war, but I don't know the technicalities. I was very serious to her. I says, you have to go to the consulate. You have to go get a reproduction and to prove how old you are, when you were born. She says, my mother remembers the month. I says, good, go to the consulate, go somewhere in Chicago, Illinois, USA, and get some kind of proof, because you someday are going to have to prove you're old enough for Medicare, Social Security in the United States, senior citizen restaurant discounts. I made her laugh. And hopefully she did that, because I sympathize with all of you who are trying to find your family records and history, and your parents and grandparents just don't want to talk about this.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, I know it's a general problem that people didn't know when they were born. I know my grandmother didn't know exactly when she was born, what year she was born.
My grandma from Poland didn't know that either.
Neither did mine.
So she could work.
In Iraq, if you were born in Pesach, you're called Pesach. You were born in Hanukkah, you are called Hanukkah. Yes, yes, yes.
You were born when the Red Barn burnt down.
That's right. I'd just like to thank Holly, actually, for translating from Yiddish the word simus, which means a big deal. For those of us
No, please, don't be an expert in areas and domains you don't understand. You cut the carrot and you cook it in sugar, and it becomes make something big from nothing.
Something big from
the
nothing.
carrot and the
Yes.
sugar and the whole spiel.
May I say my parents were my late parents were first generation American, and I'm second generation American. My late mother spoke Yiddish fluently. My late father, I understand he could understand it, but he couldn't speak it. So she always told me Simus is a ganze Gadilla, a big deal.
Okay, Emil.
Thank you for educating us.
Right, Emil, and then we'll do
Please.
Miriam Halami.
Thank you for educating me.
Okay, Emil.
Emil.
Good, thank you. I was just going to comment on something that Lynn prompted me, really. Saddam, when he was around, he decided there won't be any more surnames. So he would have your name, your father's name, and grandfather's name. And that's it. That's why a lot of people lost the surnames, including Jews for that matter. But I think they managed to keep them somehow. They cheated a bit. I don't know, because they didn't know what the name means. So they say this is actually my grandfather's name, not a surname. But that's what happened. The Muslims suffered more through the process, because what's their name? Muhammad, Jasim, Ahmed. You can't tell who he comes from. You have no idea. And before that, they used to be named either to the place that they come from. So if somebody is from Basra, Basrawi, or what he does, what his work.
Yeah.
So that was quite common. Well, that went.
Yeah.
No more.
It's going backwards.
If I may, little bit enlarge the explanation of Emil, it is much more serious. Saddam really, for variety of reasons, prohibited using surnames. And in 1983, he made a tour nearby Baghdad, and the Dawa Shiite underground tried to kill him, and his security guards managed to kill the people. It happened in a village township called Dujail. And he was saved, but he was so angry, he gave to the Mukhabarat, to his intelligence, an order to kill all the first grade relatives of the people who tried to kill him, their fathers, their brothers and sons. And if Saddam gives an order, they went to the killing fields, and they killed many people. But
500.
they also killed people who were not related.
Yes.
More important, they missed few people who were related, but some of them did not. And then when the Americans occupied Baghdad in 2003, they found the correspondence in the palace between the palace and the intelligence about those people.
Wow.
And this was one of the reasons why Saddam was executed, because it was not like in Vietnam that a lieutenant decided to kill a whole village of Milai. It was direct order by the president to kill innocent people. This was one of the paragraphs in the sentence of Baghdad. But it is true. Your surname is not there. You are called Tikrit. You are from Tikrit. There are 1 million people in Tikrit, so you cannot provide it. Hopefully now people will start coming to it. But this just shows you how sometimes surnames are very important.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that was another reason why he
Thank
did
you,
that.
Emil, for
because-
raising it.
Yes,
Can we
yeah,
get
very
Miriam, because we're running to the end of our time in a few minutes. So
I can stay until for breakfast. It's okay.
Miriam, go ahead. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Miriam, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Jacob, a marvelous talk. Thank you so much. I'm from an Ashkenazi origin, married to Baghdadi Jew, Raphael Halachmi. His father was a very well-known goldsmith in Baghdad. He and his Muslim partner were the first people to import machines to cut gold into Baghdad, and they came from England. And I wondered if you'd heard the name and could help me. His name was Saleh Abaza. My pronunciation is probably awful.
No, but what is the name of your husband?
They changed it when they went to Israel to Halachmi, Raphael Halachmi,
What was it before?
Chabaza.
Habaza.
I think they spell it in English Chabazah.
Habaza. No, Habaza is someone who's making bread.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
So
Habaza.
halachmi is the Hebrew.
Because
you realize
Halachmi.
You see, everyone is spelling the name in their different way. Someone's looking in the English for Habaza, and he's looking for CA, and he says, Jacob, I don't find it. I said, okay, go to Habaza because they're different way. Okay, send me something in WhatsApp. I'll try to see because we have a scan of the annual report of Baghdad, the Chamber of Commerce from 1946.
Yes.
If they're prominent, I can find you and tell you in which sort of business they had and in which street. But I don't have their bank account.
Don't worry, they left it all there anyway. But they didn't leave till 1950. So how do I contact you? Shall I ask Lynn?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
send it to us.
Yeah, you can just contact me at info@harif.org. Just send me, and I'll put you in touch with Jacob.
Will you give me Jacob's
Lawrence will
email
use one
address?
of his envelopes and will send me a letter with the snake.
I don't have any envelopes. I don't have anything.
I saw there are some stamps there which were not stamped, so you can recycle them.
I want to know how you got hold of those envelopes. Thank you, Jacob. I will contact you.
The thief from Baghdad. The thief from Baghdad.
The thief from Baghdad.
Okay.
Exactly. So, no, that's absolutely fascinating. I have one last question before we close, and that was about the Farhud records. Are these the official government records of losses, or what were they exactly?
Well, look, most of you are Baghdadis or Halabis. I see Sarina Rofeder, also a good friend. Hi, Sarina. The Jewish community in Baghdad was well established, had its own institutions, its own Chevra Kadisha, had its own schools, though it also Alliance School, and it had a big welfare system, And after the Farhud, they tried to compensate. First of all, made a report who was affected by the Farhud. And the lists are internal lists of the Jewish community, who has lost what, and what's the who had the shop and who the shop belonged to, because maybe the owner of the the shop itself was someone else, a Muslim, but the Jew was using it. And it's wonderful, wonderful source. But again, it gives you a slice of the community, of the businessman. Someone was a shoemaker, believe me, his small hole in the wall was not looted. So they just say, and I'm targeting all those, sorry to say, transparent people, not transparent. You have all over in Eastern Europe, everyone says, oh, we're a rich family. When you start looking, they were very poor, but their grandchildren, fortunately now, are doing very, very well. Speaking about it, most of the Jews have a representative in LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Sometimes when I didn't mention it, but LinkedIn is very good if you are suspicious that someone has a Jewish background. You go on and then you see quite a lot of Sharabanis there, whatever in LinkedIn. Go and try it for yourself. So it's very fascinating that you see where they live and that you see who writes something about them and so on and so forth. Also in Facebook. You
Right,
find a
yes.
person who his friends
Or
are.
what you'll discover about me now.
And no, something very funny is some people close the list of their friends, yes, but they like the likes. So you see who make likes on their picture, and then you see all their friends.
So beware what you disclose on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Somebody is watching.
But
His name is
Facebook,
probably Jacob Rosen.
Facebook is very, very instrumental and very, very complementary, covering many lacunae. Because otherwise, if a person was not mentioned in the documents which are available, of course, more and more documents are coming up one way or another. But we don't have the time because in 10 years' time, there was no one from our generation to talk to.
Yeah.
So we have to leave. If someone going to make a research about a community, let us say Baghdad is not a good example because most of the people live there for a while, but you have such a cosmopolitan community like in Alexandria and Cairo.
Yeah.
You want to see how the community was composed.
Yeah.
You take the list of the children in Jewish schools and you the Ashkenazi names, and you see the Baghdadi names, and you see the Halabi names, and you the Damascene names, and you see the names from the Sephardic names, really. And then you realize what was that. I hate those books which write about trends of Jewish community. The community was composed from people from many countries. Tayyib, ya Habibi, where are they from? Give names, like we say in Latin, habeas corpus. Give me a body, give me a name. So, you know, if you want to bake something, you need the wheat, you need the water, you need the oil, and maybe sugar. Without these four basic ingredients, you cannot do anything. If you want to research a community, of course, if you want to do a folklore about music, you don't need names. Sababa, this is very, very nice. But if you want really to be serious, so I am preparing the basic ingredients. So future generations, they will know there was such a family in this city. And then they said they can start digging. And fortunately now the AI and the search engines will be much more sophisticated. They will be able to retract, but at least I give them a direction.
Yeah, that is so important. Last question.
No, when a woman says last, so never.
Did you
also
find
a man?
Did you find any Ashkenazi names in Iraq?
Yes. Yes, but I'm Ashkenazi, so I should speak about that. Well, they were Ashkenazi. They were Ashkenazi. First of all, there was a group of Jewish doctors who escaped from Germany and during the 30s.
Yeah.
I know in Israel a guy whose father was a soldier in the British Army World War I. Arnold was his surname.
Yeah.
And he fell in love with a Jewish lady from Baghdad, and he stayed there. And in 1951, the family made Aliyah, Arnold, British soldier in the British Army in World War I. So, and there were doctors. There's very interesting. If you go to the website of the museum of Babylonian heritage. There's a small section there about the Jewish doctors who escaped from Europe in the 30s.
Right. Fantastic.
There was a Jewish doctor. There was a very interesting. There was a Jewish doctor who escaped from Germany, and he became the doctor of the king. And the German ambassador was big anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Was crazy about it. How our friends are getting themselves to be treated by a Jew. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, they found the letters of this ambassador in the Stasi archives.
Amazing.
Grubber.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
In the cemetery of Baghdad, I found Dr. Mas Krupach.
Yes, Kropach. I think he was in London too. Was he in London?
He died in 1949, and it took me time to. They write in Arabic Krubach. God knows what it is. It was Kropach, and I found through my knowledge and expertise in Jewish genealogy in Poland, I found out exactly where he came from.
Where he was.
He married a young Jewish nurse in the Jewish hospital. And a year after they married, he died suddenly. And she made Aliyah.
Yeah.
He never remarried. They died about 10 years ago in his widow.
Amazing. Yeah, and I know my cousin remembers a Dr. Kropach in London, so he must have been his son, his grandson.
Asking about Ashkenazim,
Yeah. Okay, so, well, no, thank you again. That was absolutely wonderful. And you have done such an important job, really, you know, in the absence of the archives.
And I need your cooperation. Please push me names. I never seen them.
Yeah. Any names, we will let you have them. No problem.
But don't fake names. Please don't fake names.
No fake names allowed. Yeah. No.
Try Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Stop it.
Thank you, guys. Some of you I know. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
many happy returns.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if we're going to put the advertisements on, or shall I?
That's it.
Okay, so I just want to give a plug for our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks on the 27th of February, when we'll be talking about Middle Eastern heritage. Can we save it? And we've got an expert to talk about this subject. And I urge you all to join us then. So until then, thank you very much. Thank you again, Jacob. All the best.
Thank you, Lynn and Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Stay well. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks. Yes, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jacob.